Nigerians have been waiting with bated breath for the president to announce his new ministers. And while the wait lasts, our information consultant, Babajide Ogusowo, is here. He seems to have answers to a lot of questions, one of which is the reappointment of the staff and secretaries of the government of the Federation. Should we expect a ministerial list to follow after this? And will most ministers be reappointed? And does history give any clue about what to expect?
That's a lot of questions.
You are the man with the answers.
But, let's put it this way. If there were to be an Olympics for the speed of naming ministers, who will win? Which of Nigeria's presidents will get the gold, silver, or bronze medal? And I'll share that with you tonight, and I think you'll be surprised with the answers. But tonight, I'd like to start with what my grandfather often told me. He will call me and say, Jide, life is not about how fast you start. It is about how well you end. Here's what I mean. Albert Einstein had a slow start in life. He did not start speaking until he was 3 years old. Usain Bolt always had a slow start, but we don't remember that because he always had a strong end. Even yesterday, Nigeria versus Cameroon, that football match, Nigeria had a slow start, but we don't focus on that slow start because...
With better presidents.
But it all ended well. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying we should applaud the president for his relatively slow start. What I mean is that it is better to start slow if you would end well than to have a fast start that ends in disaster.
I have a question for you on that. Since we're talking history, if it gives any clue what to expect, the president did almost the same thing at the beginning of his tenure in 2015. It took almost 6 months or more before he appointed ministers. You think he'll do the same thing?
So let's look at who will get the gold, silver, or bronze medal. Let's look at the speed of naming ministers. And if you take a look closely at the speed of naming ministers from 1979, October 17th, 1979, President Shagari submitted the name of his ministers. June 9, 1999, Obasanjo submitted the name of his ministers. In 2007, by the 4th of July, Umar Yar'Adua had submitted his ministerial list. June 11, Jonathan had submitted it by the 27th of June. And 2015, that list did not come until the 30th of September. What does all of this mean? It means that if there were to be a gold medal for the speed of naming ministers, that gold medal will go to President Obasanjo. It took him only 11 days to name his ministerial list in 1999. The silver medal will go to Shehu Shagari. That took him only 16 days. The bronze medal will also go to Shehu Shagari. That took him only 16 days. What's taking the longest time? President Buhari. That was 124 days in 2015. And today, even if we get the ministerial list, it will be day 39. And so what we've seen is a president that seems to take relatively longer than previous presidents. We've seen 11 days, President Obasanjo in 1999. And we've seen that the average has been between 11, or the range has been between 11 and 30. So we've seen that very few times do ministerial lists take this long. But again, remember, it is not about how well or how slow you start. It is about how well you end.
So maybe we should talk about what he should be looking out for, in the decision making, the point where he has to pick ministers. What should be the guiding principles for him?
Let's look at what the popular polls say. And the polls that have been conducted show that 3 things Nigerians are calling for in the ministerial list. The first is they're asking for visionary leadership. And by visionary leadership, they're looking for a minister that can future-proof the ministries, a minister that is forward-looking. That's the first thing, visionary leadership. The second thing, based on polls that Nigerians are asking for, is for there to be gender balance in the list of ministers. We want to be able to see more gender neutrality in that list. And the final and third thing that is the most important thing for Nigerians is ethical leadership. In other words, Nigerians want to see they want to see ministers that take responsibility for the decisions that they take, and those decisions should be done transparently and with good conscience.
Wow.
But for me, if there's only one thing I think the president should focus on, let's get a minister that has common sense. These days, common sense isn't that common.
Okay. So you have your crystal ball today. So look into that, and tell us if there will be new appointments to the Security Council.
The Security Council has 8 statutory members based on the third schedule. We have the president, the vice president, the inspector general of police. But there are 5 other members that within the next 30 to 60 days that we need to keep an eye on. The Minister of Defense, the Minister of Internal Affairs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Chief of Defense Secretary, and the National Security Advisor. So those are the 5 positions that within the next 30 to 60 days, we need to keep an eye on what will be happening in those 5 sensitive positions, because these members are part of the members that make up the National Security Council.
And speaking of security, that is topmost in the minds of many Nigerians. So are we making progress in that regard?
It depends on how we want to measure progress. In the last 12 months, we've seen a renewed boldness from criminals and terrorists. But based on the evidence from the global database of terrorism, they say that we've made some progress, especially relative to where we were in 2014. By the time we look at the number of terrorist attacks, in the last 3 years, we've seen a decline. A lot of security agencies have worked together to achieve this, but there are 3 leaders that have provided a lot of direction to the success we've measured. And that is the Chief of Defense Intelligence, Air Vice Marshal MS Usman, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olonishakin, and the National Security Advisor, General Babagana Monguno. These 3 men have provided a lot of direction to that decline. But should we give them a clap? Not yet. They do not deserve to be applauded until every Nigerian feels safe again. Indeed, every Nigerian and visitor deserves to feel safe again.
We do. And I just want to comment that not once have you looked into your crystal ball, yet you're making predictions. How can we trust what you're saying?
Again, what does the future lie?
Yes, look into that and tell us.
I think the future really lies in intelligence-led operations. In other words, we need to move away from just focusing on military hardware. We need to look at what countries like the United States, Russia, and even several other developed countries focus on. It is about intelligence-led operations will be able to allow us to ensure that we get more results when it comes to security. So we need to be able to get top leaders in the intelligence community to come together to be able to provide a new direction. But again, remember, life is not about how well you start.
Yeah.
It is about how well you end. And at the very end, I think the future looks brighter.
And your grandfather was a very wise man, and he taught you very well. Babajide, thank you.
We will make progress. In the next couple of days, based on the trends, I think the ministerial list will be out.
Okay, amen to that. Thanks again for joining us on the News at 10, Babajide.
The pleasure is always mine.
Call on you again for more predictions.